Hey everybody, so recently I've been getting back into the world of online dating. I know, it sounds terrible, and that's because it is. I've been in the trenches now for a couple of weeks, and I'm ready to get out. But look, sometimes us single people, and I do need to clarify single, because for whatever reason, it says 65% of people on Tinder are already in a relationship or married, which I find that hard to believe, but if that's true, God help us all. For us single people, sometimes you're going to the app store and there it is. You see Bumble, Tinder, and honestly hundreds of apps just like that. I mean, they're everywhere. And for someone who might be a little naive, they might be like, yeah, I'm gonna download Tinder or Bumble. I'm gonna get into a relationship pretty easily. I'm gonna swipe right a couple of times, conversate with the ladies or gentlemen, maybe go on a couple of dates, kiss, and then, look, we're married. And then I die, and it's a happy death because you didn't spend it alone, right? Unfortunately, the reality of these dating apps, that's not usually how it goes for a lot of people. And reality is a bit disappointing.
Reality is often disappointing.
Now, when it comes to these online dating apps, their main goal is not to find you a date. Going on Tinder or Bumble, finding love is merely accidental. Because I know this is going to be shocking to a lot of people, but their main goal is, well, it's money. They want people who are feeling lonely, desperate, they're down on their luck, they're basically giving up on love, and this is like their last resort, going and downloading Tinder, Bumble, whatever, and basically being like, I'll give it one last shot. Those are the perfect people. Those people are the most vulnerable to buying one of these monthly memberships, and let me just say, these monthly memberships are really expensive. I mean, more expensive than I thought they would be. Now, when it comes to these monthly subscription prices, I'm going to be looking at Bumble because I was just completely shocked on how expensive it actually was. For 1 month of Bumble Premium Plus, it is $50 for 1 week. Now, for $50, as soon as my payment confirms, I best begin to knock at my door with a date already there for me. It would take me 2.5 hours to get $50. And imagine paying $50 for something that isn't even guaranteed to work. I could not imagine the just absolute disappointment of buying this subscription service, and then by the end of the week, day 6, I'm like, holy shit, this has not worked for me at all. I'm starting to sweat a little bit. I can't afford this for a second week. And this 1 week for $50, Bumble is essentially asking you what a lot of other subscription services would ask for you in a year. I was just shocked, but someone's probably paying for it, which is the sad part. But look, if that's too expensive for you, you also have a more modest option. For $33 a week, you have Bumble Premium. Okay, what a deal. But also you have Spotlight, which basically boosts up your account for 30 minutes to other people. I'm just gonna say it, this is a complete waste of money. $12 for 30 minutes of something that probably isn't even gonna work. I guess I'm just disappointed because I know there's people actually paying for this. But then there's super swipes. If you really find someone attractive and you're like, I have to be with this person, you can buy super swipes, which I just kind of look at that as more desperation. There's probably someone out there right now gladly paying $50 a week and getting nothing for it. Like, I feel bad for them, but like if you're doing that, that's on you at that point. Now, obviously, despite these apps only caring about money, I think in another world, these apps could actually be still a pretty good place to find dates if people would use them for the intended reason, which is dating to eventually get into a relationship. But unfortunately, there are a good amount of people who are using these apps for sex, for attention. You know, hey, I got 50 likes today, but I don't really intend on responding to any of these people. Screw that. Or even cheating on people that you're already in a relationship with. Like, if all of these people could just leave and go on a different platform, which I'm sure for all of those different things, there is already an app for that you can go find somewhere else, then the app would be there for the people who are actually serious about dating. But there's also a lot of people on this app who just become so overly picky. Like, it's obviously okay to look on someone's profile, and if like they're a devoted Christian and you're an atheist, or if you guys have completely different political beliefs, yeah, that makes sense. You probably wouldn't want to get with that person. But there's also people who get to the point where it's like, oh man, this guy has like an apple emoji in his bio, and I really hate that apple emoji. Yeah, I'm swiping left on this person. Because pretty much you get infinite options on Tinder or Bumble. You can swipe left on someone and there's someone completely new. You don't really have to invest a lot of time into looking at someone's profile. And there's a lot of people who just take one glance at you and that's it. They've made up their mind. But there are some people that I initially would have swiped left on, and then I went and actually looked at their profile. I read the description. I saw some of the things that they were interested in, like arts or, certain movies that maybe I like or, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to swipe right on this person. I think a lot of people, because it is a dating app, really not encouraged to like spend time on someone's profile. But if I get a match, I want to know that person is someone I'm interested in. And I don't know, there is something kind of weird about online dating where you can go from not knowing somebody whatsoever to then in the span of like 1 to 2 days already being off on a date with the potential chance of that leading into a relationship. I feel like with a lot of people who meet like in real life, for example, you kind of start off as friends, and that potentially could lead into dating and then maybe a relationship. But I think with online dating, you're kind of missing that chunk of you guys being friends. So instead of it gradually leading towards a date, you're just kind of being shoved into it. It kind of means with that first date, you're really nervous or like you don't really know what you're getting yourself into, and your personality might be a little off and who you are might feel a little forced or fake. And I think there are a lot of people where if they were to meet in real life, they could actually, be pretty good in a relationship. But there's just something about online dating where it's like, doesn't really work that well for a lot of people. Obviously it works for some people, but I think there are a lot of people who kind of need this, like a friendship before getting into dating. And online dating just doesn't really lend itself well to that. And when it comes to these dating apps, why do I have to play this game? Like, why is it this hard to find any kind of connection? Like, it just feels ridiculous. Like, I can go on YouTube, for example, and watch tutorials on how to make the perfect profile, how to take the perfect picture, how to make a bio that's irresistible to anybody who sees it. At a certain point, you're like, this isn't fun. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, yeah, I'm lonely. I don't want to be alone anymore. But also at the same time, it just makes that feeling even worse when you use these apps. It just messes with your head. And at a certain point, it's like, why am I doing this to myself? Yeah, I'm lonely. Maybe that's not bad. It's better than having to deal with this. And the thing is with dating apps, they obviously can screw up your mental state pretty hard, because at the very least before I was using dating apps, yeah, I might have been lonely and a little depressed, but I wasn't trying, so I could always hold on to that hope where it's like, yeah, but when I do start trying, it's gonna be pretty easy. And then you use dating apps and you're like, whew, reality is really striking me right now. This is not easy whatsoever. And now you're trying and you're also lonely and depressed, but even more so now because you can't use that excuse of like, well, I'm not trying. Now you are, and it's not working out. A lot of men do look at women, for example, and kind of vilify them. They're like, you're the reason I'm not getting any dates. And I'm not really into this whole man versus woman thing when it comes to these online dating apps. It's like, who cares? If you were to take the average guy versus the average woman, sure, the average woman is probably going to get a lot more likes than the average man. But women obviously do face challenges on these apps as well. Like, I'm sure they get harassed way more than men do, or they get sent the occasional wiener pic that men probably don't get unless maybe you're on Grindr, And yeah, they might get more likes, but it's like, are the people liking them quality people? Like, are they good? And yeah, obviously there's bad women on these dating apps, of course. There's bad men as well. It goes both ways. But I think men are like looking for a reason to like be angry at women. I know it is hard being on these apps as a gentleman myself. But I think the best thing you can do if you are a man on these apps is just to not stress about any of it, to kind of let go of where things might go. I know for me personally, it's like even before I talk to somebody, I'm already thinking about the future. Even before I send one text, I'm looking at their profile and I'm like, are we gonna go on a date? Maybe we're gonna get married eventually? Like, you're already setting yourself up for failure if you're overthinking to that degree. Like, if you're already stressing about the first message you're going to send, it's just probably not gonna work out. So if you just kind of let go of those worries and you just be yourself, it's probably gonna be better for you. I mean, obviously being a man on these dating apps is not easy. It does suck, I'm not gonna lie. But also, I will say, I don't think it's very hard to like be ahead of the curve when it comes to a lot of these men. I think a lot of these men on these dating apps just don't have a personality. They don't say interesting stuff. And so if you just say stuff that's interesting or outside the norm, there's a better chance that you probably are going to succeed on these apps. Probably. Maybe. But maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of it. I don't like dating apps and I kind of wish they would go away forever, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I think unfortunately dating apps are here to stay. And get off the dating apps, go outside, which is scary. It is. But if you can, maybe do that and meet some people in real life. But man, that doesn't sound fun either. Maybe I'll just be alone forever.